Welcome one and welcome all to the greatest show of them all. It is the NFC East Mixtape volume 181, a palindrome. He is Brandon Lee Gowton from Bleeding Green Nation. I am RJ Ochoa from Blogging the Boys. No, we do not have a podcast version of this show. Love you all. Tired of answering that question. Please pay attention. Please take some notes. You know, just a friendly request from your favorite NFC mixologist, NFC East mixologist, I should say. You can watch this show on the Bleeding Green Nation YouTube channel if you're an Eagles fan, or the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel. If you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, I don't know why you would be these days, but nevertheless, here we are. BLG, it's Monday, December 22nd. Quick week with the Cowboys playing on Christmas Day, and in the spirit of that, Merry Christmas to you and your family.
Ho, ho, ho. Merry Clinchmas. The Philadelphia Eagles have clinched the NFC East for the first time as back-to-back winners of this division. As it says in the title of this episode, the curse is over, finally. And not only will I say that the Eagles, it's not just about that it's been since 2004 that that any team in the NFC East has been able to.
But the Eagles were the last team to do it, just
correct.
To be clear for anyone who is unaware, right?
But to add more context, like, it's not like every team was right around then. Like, you have to go back to the 96 Dallas Cowboys to look at the last time they did it back to back. You have to go back to the 1990. That was before I was born. New York Giants, who did it in 89 and 90. And then if you're looking at the Washington team, you have to go all the way back to 1984 when they had a run there where they won the division 3 straight times from 82 to 84. So even though there have been some really bad divisions in this time, and there's some real highs and lows, the fact that the Eagles have won 2 Super Bowls within this stretch without repeating is kind of weird and strange. The fact that the Giants did the same thing, a very strange journey to get to this point in time. But here we are with the Philadelphia Eagles finally doing it.
I love NFL history, and so I'm glad that you brought up that note as far as the last time each NFC East team. The NFC East is the NFL's most storied division and the most successful division from a quantitative standpoint in terms of having the most Super Bowls, and also it's the only division where every team has won the Super Bowl. I don't take divisional
and multiple times too.
Right, that's true. I don't take like divisional pride. This isn't like the SEC or anything like that, but it is for our literal purposes here on the show. It is pretty cool. And so in that respect, the teams you're talking about, the Dallas, New York, Washington teams, that was in the run of all of them winning Super Bowls. The last when they last won consecutive NFC East titles. And I did want to shout, I wanted to look this up. The 83 Washington team, they actually lost the Super Bowl as defending champions, but if I recall, that team had an absurd turnover differential. I'm looking this up. Like, I want to say it was like plus 39 or something. Like, I've always just kind of
weird fun fact.
So
the Eagles have won 3 out of the last 4 years. I will also add, which also
you could argue that
in a long time.
And I mean, I don't want to take away from the Cowboys in this respect. I will in a lot. But the one that they did in the Eagles in this 3 out of 4 year stretch was them vomiting all over themselves and kind of coughing it away. So it wasn't like they had it stolen, in a total sense, is my point.
They did give it away that year for sure. But we're not talking about that year. We're talking about 2025.
So I'm sorry. It was plus 43, their turnover differential. They had 18 turnovers as a team and generated 61. And they lost the Super Bowl. That's absurd.
And they got blown out in the Super Bowl too,
right?
From what I'm seeing here.
But they did win the year prior. A rare thing where you are the reigning Super Bowl champions and you lose the next year. Chiefs obviously did that last year, so not quite rare in our current moment. Let's see here on the chat. In the chat, Eagles Gruff 52 says, "Thanks BLG. I appreciate the Eagles winning back-to-back NFC East titles in my stocking yesterday." Michael Wright says, "Getting the mixtape notification halfway through my long run is keeping me alive."
Wow, on a run and like watching the mixtape
like, what's the situation? Be careful if so, Michael. But are you like on the treadmill? Like, what's the I'm kind of curious.
I'm guessing he's not actually watching.
Oh, that's a good point. Let me just stop to make the comment. And Miss Felony Strutter says, "You from a Cowboys fan since '76 and filthy. Why are we talking to this dude?" And says, "No, the Cowboys took it away in 2033. Maybe some manifestation." And then I think they're shouting out the 3rd and 30 to T.Y. Hilton in the chat.
That was 2022.
That was 2022. Even if that is what they meant, that was 2022. Okay. Oh, and Eagles Girl 52 says good thing for realignment or the Cardinals would be holding us back in terms of Super Bowl wins. That's true. Like the Eagles were for a very long time.
Until recently when they've won too.
Yeah,
we were going to do an episode last week, by the way. And I'm coming to your defense on this because some people were like, oh, RJ was ducking the Dallas Cowboys losing to the Minnesota Vikings. That's not the case. We had talked about probably not going to be able to do an episode last week, and then therefore also plan to do it early in this week, in part because we didn't do it last week and also because the Cowboys play again here this week on Christmas. But that game doesn't matter because the Cowboys are eliminated and it's irrelevant, but we are here nevertheless. Also, I have a plug I wanted to get to before it gets too late in the show, and then I forget it. Plug for the Ringers Philly Special podcast meetup, RJ. We're having a meetup. For the uninitiated, I do the post-game Eagles podcast on the Ringers Philly Special with Shil Kapadia reacting to the games. Funny enough, I did not do this week, and we can get into that here as it relates to the Eagles game, and we discussed that. But anyway, most episodes I am there, and you can meet Shil Kapadia and Cliff and Zach Berman and everyone and anyone associated with the Ringers Philly Special who are in town at Chickies and Pete's in South Philly. So come on out on December 30th and from 7 to 9 and check that out. There's more information on, my social media, Shil Kapadia's social media. So go look that up. And if you want to come out, I know a lot of people, RJ, typically when I do go to these kind of meet and greet kind of things or I'm out in the wild, a lot of people say we love the mixtape. So, shout out to those people.
The mixologist, they have a name that you've always disrespected. On the subject of the mixologist, Michael Wright notes, just listening on lots of back roads and no traffic, so all is safe here. So that's great to hear.
Nice.
Last tangential thing before we begin. I was traveling last week, and that's why we didn't do the mixtape and everything that you covered. And thank you for coming to my defense, because there were a lot of people that did accuse me of ducking. I wouldn't do that. I have zero issue talking about this team when they
came on here after the Eagles won the Super Bowl.
I covered them winning the Super Bowl and then came on to talk about the experience. Thank you very much. But that being said, I also was out of town during the Survivor finale, and so my wife and I we didn't have a chance to watch it. We got back on Friday and we were busy Saturday, so finally watched it. You watched it, Ice, and I feel like at this point,
I think we should get into that later, just for the sake of spoilers and everything too, and just in case give people more time. But I would like to talk about that later in the show.
Okay, that is a tease for later in the show. If you are a fan of Survivor 49, the finale aired last Wednesday, and Survivor 50 is coming up in the spring. Okay, so we can go chronologically. I don't know that we have to cover the games, but we certainly should discuss the teams chronologically. Obviously, the Eagles, they've won 2 games since we last did a mixtape. They blew out the Raiders like everyone thought they would.
Yep.
And then beat the Commanders pretty handily. I guess we kind of had to talk about the Commanders in the process of this, which is out of order. So whatever. My biggest takeaway was that Dan Quinn was like such a loser with like, we'll see him again in 2 weeks. Dude, they just won the division. What are you going to do in 2 weeks, Dan, you'll really show them when it's a meaningless game for their seeding or whatever. Right. I commend the Eagles. I always have commended them. I've long pushed back that Sirianni sucks or anything like that. I don't know that I think that their future is very bright. I would still, I would still.
What are you talking about?
Well, I mean, you've hated on this team yourself, so I would. They're NFC East winners. They're the only team in the NFL that's clinched the division, I believe, at this point, which is a testament to the division itself. I would still take the Seahawks, the Rams.
Okay, you're saying this season. I
thought
the long-term health. I was like, I like the long-term health of the franchise.
No, I think they might lose in the divisional round. It's kind of where I see their ceiling this year. I would take the Seahawks. I would take the Rams. I don't know if I would take the Bears. That I would have to, it would depend on the circumstance and the week. I would have to reserve judgment till then, just on the NFC side. But that's it in the NFC. I would definitely take the Bills. Obviously, if it became a Super Bowl situation, I might take the Patriots. I could be convinced to take the Jaguars if things break that way. But my point is, they're not the force they've been entering the playoffs in past seasons. But I don't think if you're an Eagles fan, that really matters to you.
Because I don't think any team in the NFL is really like the force that like just can't be beat. I do like the Rams a lot. I still think they're literally the betting favorites, when you look on any kind of sports betting thing. FanDuel is a good one, I guess.
The
They don't really
preferred
pay
one.
me directly to say that, but
we have
in
jobs.
theory, there's a connection there. Give me some more love here, FanDuel. Anyway, they are, and also I think their resume is so good. Like when you look at their losses this year, they're in it until basically at the final play of every game. It's like the Eagles game.
And you can argue that they should have won that Eagles game. I mean,
no, absolutely, yeah.
Like
it's that game.
and the Seahawks game certainly. Like it's not just that
they lost by a point in overtime on the road,
and it's not just
they covered the spread. They were 1.5 point dogs.
It's not just that they like lost on the final possession. It's like literally the final play of 2 games against maybe the 2 other best teams in the conference. So
now I will say, like, they probably have like the least imposing, home stadium of any team. That's certainly relevant there. Although they might be playing on the road, we'll see how the seating shakes out there. I do think like if they had a legitimate home field, that would actually be like, then they're just like really tough and intimidating. Anyway, but Rams aside, there's no one I'm like, the Eagles definitely, and I think the Eagles can beat them. They obviously did beat them. The Eagles should be underdogs in that game, for sure. And I would take the Rams to win probably in most scenarios. We'll see how health shakes out over the final few weeks here. But this was an interesting experience for me, RJ, on Saturday as the Eagles played, because I was not watching the game live for the first time in I don't even remember since the last time that happened for me in an Eagles game, because my girlfriend Rachel, her brother Jeremy, shout out to Jeremy and Jess, were having an engagement party that day, which was actually a surprise wedding. So originally I was supposed to just go to that event and stay for a little bit until the game started and then head out. But then once there was knowledge of it being a surprise wedding, it was kind of more like, you should probably stay for this.
So wait a minute. So because you were involved in a situation like that, but you were in the know for that. So Correct. This was one where you were actually surprised, and that thwarted your plans. You're saying
I was in the know.
Okay.
Not the whole time, but like as it got closer. I mean, still multiple weeks in advance, but not like from the original conceit, I guess. Yeah, because the first time was with my good friends Elizabeth and Holden, and I knew because they asked me to be the officiant for their wedding. So I was like one of the very few people that did. This time I was not the officiant, but obviously I think Rachel's mom really wanted me to be there. She's a big Eagles fan, by the way. So this isn't even just like, oh, they don't care about sports. It's just that sometimes this is how things work out. So anyway, it was really weird to kind of like, I was checking in on the game on Twitter and saw a lot of angst. My dad was there too, and he was pulling up the game. So I saw some glimpses of it, and it was weird for me because I don't know how much knowing the final score before being able to watch it in full influenced my opinion on it, because it's like maybe I'm just looking at this more rosier than I should, because I'm like, oh, they won the game, and I know that. I obviously went back and rewatched it. I didn't feel like the same angst, I guess, that other people had live. And I don't know if that was just because of that or because I don't think this game, in no way am I like, yeah, the Eagles are back on top. Let's go, firing on all cylinders. I'm not like that at all. I just think that things have stabilized a little bit here, which is a positive. And also, the Eagles are allowed to enjoy beating up on bad teams when they've had literally one of the toughest schedules in the NFL this year. They have not had very gimme games on their schedule this season. And the ones they have were the Giants games, which is also a division game, and they lost one of those. And that was back when the Giants were at their very best this season. Outside of that, it's the Raiders game. By contrast, look at the 49ers schedule. There's a 4-week stretch or 5-week stretch recently where it's oh, they're playing the Titans and then the Browns and then the Panthers. It's give me a break. They have not had a cupcake schedule here. So they're allowed to enjoy this, and they're allowed to kind of build some confidence, which I think they sorely needed because the vibes were not good. The energy was not good. And again, I don't think everything is fixed. I still worry about the head coach holding them back, because I think there's some signs of that, even from this game, in terms of these end of half scenarios where they're just it just seems like they're not even trying to score. Jake Elliott is a concern. When the kicker is missing the amount of kicks he has this year, there are issues here. But they also get Lane Johnson back. They also get Jalen Carter back, reportedly, this week against the Bills. And so it'll be really interesting to see how they look against Buffalo this week, because it's okay, you beat the Raiders, you beat the Commanders, who are down to Josh Johnson. It's all well and good. Not that the Bills are perfect, because they've had some bad losses this year, but they're certainly a contender. They're, I believe, ahead of the Eagles, maybe. And I think they're third in terms of Super Bowl favorites. So if the Eagles go in there in Buffalo and they come out with an impressive win, then I think I am going to be buying this team a lot more heading into the postseason.
I have a lot to say. And it's going to touch on a lot of things, and it's going to kind of cross-pollinate with some of the other teams in the division. That's just kind of where we're at in the year. So apologies for the disorganized jumble that my response to everything is going to be. First of all, congratulations to the happy couple. A second of all, was your dad at the game or at the wedding? That was what I was
at the wedding.
Okay, because you said your dad was there.
And my mom and my dad were invited to the wedding.
So your dad was kind of your eyes on the game while you were busy, being the...
I didn't ask him to do that, to be clear. Are you watching the game? Like, I didn't ask him to do it. He pulled up the game. If he's watching the game,
I get it. You're out doing the Cupid shuffle, and you come back, and it's like, Dad, what happened on that possession? You know what I mean? That type of thing. But so that was just I didn't know if your dad was at the actual game or at the wedding. So that
he was at the wedding.
I think helps paint the picture of the logistics for people to understand.
He had his phone out.
Joe offers that his friend had a wedding on a Sunday in 2018. And they're a Washington fan. That was the Alex Smith Texans game where the leg injury happened, and that the Cowboys beat the Falcons that week. I was at that Falcons game with my dad, just to kind of make everything full circle here. We've also got a fan from Norway here that hopes the Eagles can go all the way. So we are super international. Wow. Okay, so again,
where in Norway? I don't know. Let me know.
Okay, not in order whatsoever. And some of the things I'm going to say are going to sound insulting. Some of them are going to sound complimentary. So just on the schedule point, because I saw this morning, Josh Dubois of the Associated Press, I got a tweet about like the Eagles schedule thing. Yeah. I'm sure this is a point of pride, and I'm not even like saying you're dumb, but he noted, and some of this I don't like. I think he was trying to grandstand. I don't fully agree with this tweet, but he tweeted out, Josh Dubois AP, Eagles have what's projected to finish as the third easiest schedule by record in the NFC. So that would be based. I don't think you should determine strength of schedule based on record either before the season,
the Commanders and the Giants in there.
Okay, again, I'm just talking about the totality of the point. And then this part I think is dumb, but says played the same number of home games as every NFC team. These two data points I think are important. I know that's what I'm saying, like to be like, oh, well, they played 17 games like everyone else. It's stupid. But then he notes that the Eagles have the 11th fewest miles traveled in the NFL and had an overall rest advantage compared to their opponents. Those data points matter. And so that's all I'm throwing that out for context and whatnot. I will tell you how I was feeling during the game since you were, too busy, like, back at the bar, whatever. I was pre-annoyed because it obviously after the Vikings game, it was over for the Cowboys, right? There was no way that they were going to win out and Philadelphia was going to lose out. And so I was pre-annoyed because if the Eagles had lost the game, I thought maybe Dallas would beat the Chargers. We'll get to that in a little bit, obviously. And then they will definitely beat Washington on Christmas Day, which happens before the Eagles play the Bills. And maybe the Eagles lose to the Bills. You yourself said that, you think the Bills are a better Super Bowl contender, whatever. And I was pre-annoyed at the Cowboys playoff life narrative existing for a few weeks. I was so ready for it to be over and done with for all obvious reasons. And I was that annoyed because it looked like the Eagles were playing with their food. That's what the first half was like. It wasn't until the second half when they just kind of were like, we're the Eagles, we're so much better than this team. Let's take care of business and let's put this away. I would, argue, obviously, Jake Elliott is a point of serious concern. I would argue that the run game is still not quite, I think, where everyone wants it to be. But I would also argue on the other side of that coin that Lane Johnson's inevitable return seemingly is probably going to fix all of that stuff. And then I would say that regardless of what happens on Sunday against Buffalo, if the Eagles lose, do not get me wrong, I will get my tweets off and make my jokes. But if the Eagles win, I would not take that and feel like, oh, the Eagles can beat anybody now. Like you're in a boat that kind of sucks, but it's kind of okay. And that you've just got to wait these last 2 weeks. Like these 2 weeks are meaningless for you. The Eagles are probably going to be the 3 seed in all likelihood. And you just have to tread water and wait. Like a win or a loss against Buffalo isn't going to prove or justify anything one way or another. A Week 17 game is meaningless to the Eagles at this point in time.
I wouldn't say that if they get blown out, if they absolutely get destroyed, I'm not going to feel that way.
I understand why people would freak out, but I would not. I don't think it would. I don't think it warrants any massive freak out or any massive like, oh, boom, everything is perfect, everything is great, everything is hunky dory. You have to understand, and I would assume that Nick Sirianni and Eagles leadership do understand this, that they're in a situation where they're probably not going to improve their seeding. They're probably going to be the 3 seed, and so you can somewhat effectively treat these last 2 weeks as glorified preseason bye type windows to set yourself up for a repeat championship.
That's how not That's not how I would approach it personally, from the standpoint of the Eagles are, if they win, I believe if they win their final 2 games, regardless of what happens, like, obviously they need help, but in terms of just them winning their final 2 games, doing what they can control, it's about like just under a 50% chance at the 2 seed. So they're not dead. It's not favorable. The 3 seed is obviously, like you said, the most likely outcome, but if you have a chance to play for the 2 seed, to me,
I'm not forfeitting the opportunity,
yeah,
to be clear. I'm just living in a practical, pragmatic sort of way.
especially because we just saw that happen last year. The Eagles got the 2 seed last year.
And that happened to the Cowboys the year before when they
they were the first team to ever lose to the 7 seed.
Right. But my point is, at that moment, it was like, oh, there's no way they're going to be the 3 seed even. You know what I mean? When they were winning the division, or I'm sorry, there's no way that they're going to improve from the 3 seed. But then everything broke their way, and it on paper set up favorably for them. They blew it, but I mean, it was worth doing things on their end.
It guarantees you get a second home game in the playoffs if you win the first one. So I think there's absolutely massive value in that. Real quick, I did want to ask before I forget. If, let's say, I don't think this is likely, the Eagles' most likely first-round opponent is the San Francisco 49ers.
Stats coming on, 100%. Yeah.
Who are still alive for the number 1 seed, by the way. But we'll see. And actually, that game...
And they actually control their own destiny for the 1 seed. So the Eagles don't control their own destiny, to your point. But the 49ers and Seahawks each control their destiny. And what that means, like the TLDR, is if they each win out. They can't both win out because they play one another. But if San Francisco wins out, they're the 1 seed. If Seattle wins out, they're the 1 seed.
If the Eagles, we're recording this on Monday afternoon, so before Monday Night Football with the 49ers and the Colts. Right. If the 49ers win that game, the Eagles cannot win the 1 seed anymore. It's already a long shot, but it's officially dead. So we'll see about that. They lose, then the Eagles are still alive for that as well. Again, very unlikely, but still mathematically alive for that, just like kind of like the Cowboys were technically mathematically alive for the playoffs for a bit there until they weren't. So what's my point? I don't even remember my question for you. Yeah. If the Eagles host the Packers, who are you rooting for in that scenario? Since the Cowboys have the Packers first round pick.
So that would, to again explain that, they would have to be the 2 seed in all likelihood, because it seems like Green Bay's most likely path in is as the 7th.
Yeah, let's just pretend it.
I'm just saying, like, just to explain the how of that hypothetical would be conceived.
Or let's say it happens down the road. Let's say somehow they get matched up in a future round. What if they get matched up in the championship game? How about that? Let's make it really interesting.
I would be rooting for the Packers because, at that point you're talking about what's the difference between the 28th and the 30th.
Okay, so then therefore, let's take a championship game out. Let's say it is the first round or second round.
I would still be rooting for the Packers.
Okay, fair.
Again,
I was curious.
what's there is a difference. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not obtuse, but like, what is the general difference between the 26th pick and the 30th pick? You know what I mean? Like,
I was just curious. Yeah, I didn't have a point to prove.
It wouldn't, if it was a week 3 game or something like that, you can make an argument. You know what I mean, or whatever. Like, and I did make that argument. In fact, when they played one another on Monday Night Football, I said it makes more sense at that time, and this was even before the Cowboys' little rally, to root for the Eagles to win that game than the Packers. So that's my my perspective.
Some of my bigger points of optimism here are Jalen Hurts, who has rebounded here after having that 5 turnover game. Hasn't been perfect, but touchdown throw he had to Dallas Goedert in this game against Washington, that was a big time throw. He did miss some throws in this game, which he's kind of been doing too much in terms of out of character for him. Usually he doesn't struggle with accuracy in the pocket when he has a clean pocket, and he's usually generally pretty accurate. So not sure what's going on there. Didn't love to see those misses, but I think he has rebounded from his very worst stretch he had this season. And I just trust him going into the playoffs. I trust him that he could have some big games in the postseason. We've seen it before. So that's something I look at and I can feel optimistic about. Saquon Barkley seems to be heating up. Not that I ever thought he was the problem with the running game this year. And I still think the blocking, I don't feel great about that. And you talked about Lane Johnson coming back and maybe fixing all of that. I don't think that's the case. I do think it helps. I don't think it fixes everything. But I think one thing that makes Saquon Barkley unique, his superpower, if you will, in addition to just his freak talent, is the fact that he takes care of himself so well. And I think that might starting to be show up here, like late in the season. He's just like a different level when it comes to conditioning. And, that some of those, I mean, the 48 yard, whatever yard run it was where he's dead to rights in the backfield, is about to get tackled for a loss, spins out of that. And also his touchdown run where he's like breaking through multiple tackles like that. Like, I saw something there, like he wants to win really bad still, and I like to see that. I think that's a good tone setter for the team, and I think that is something that could show up in the postseason again, work in their favor. So it's not going to be pretty. I don't think this offense is getting to a point where it's pretty. There's some signs of life. The defense is playing well. They're in the mix, and I'll take that here at the mixtape.
The Saquon takes care of himself thing sounds a lot like our old colleague Pete Sweeney's Patrick Mahomes. He refuses to lose thing.
Well,
I don't think I've ever told you this. I mean,
that's Jalen Hurts' thing.
It's not been forever at this point, but I mentioned I covered the Eagles winning the Super Bowl last year. I roomed with Pete. We were together in our Airbnb in New Orleans, and when we were walking out of the Superdome to go catch the media shuttle, he just looked at me and he said, "Why did Pat refuse to win?" It was really funny.
Was he kidding? He was like doing tongue in cheek.
Yeah, he was doing tongue in cheek. He was really sad, and I was also really sad because the Eagles won the Super Bowl. So it was really funny, and it was funny because when he first said that he refused to lose, it was really dumb. I don't know if you remember. I wasn't the only person in that show. It was me and Kist, and Kist and I were both like, "Oh, get out!" Like, so it was just a really funny moment. But anyway, I want to be
true for a while.
I want to be clear that Jalen Hurts won the Super Bowl. The Eagles won the Super Bowl. So like that provides you like lifetime Teflon, like no one can ever take it away. And the performance was amazing. And even the one they lost, blah, blah. But like his sort of MO, and I don't say this in a minimizing sort of way, has been he shows up in big games. So like if he were to have this flat performance in a playoff game, it wouldn't undo it or take that away. Like no one ever takes that type. So I hope my point is very, very clear here, but it would, just make arguing that a little less ferocious in the future. That's all.
I mean, he hasn't been perfect in the playoffs. Obviously he's had bad playoff games, but I just do think generally you trust that he could rise to the occasion.
By the way, you brought up Josh Johnson and how, oh man, it was a big old deal that, he was brought in, blah, blah. Well, imagine getting to play him in an NFC Championship game as the team's third string quarterback, whatever. So,
yeah, Eagles did.
Anyway, are we ready to talk about the Cowboys?
Yeah, I guess. And they were done obviously when they lost to the Vikings. Like that was their season, right? You can't lose to that team, to JJ McCarthy, of anyone at home. And
you could argue that they were done when they lost to Detroit, as we sort of did. I mean, that put them in a
really tough
right. That put them in a really harrowing spot. But yeah, losing to Minnesota was just, I mean, and then they didn't just lose. I mean, they were
like 6.5 point home favorites too, I believe, in that game against the Vikings.
Yep. And I mean, yeah, so they held a 1% chance of being in the playoffs. And again, their only path, because of the fact that they lost to Detroit, was as the NFC East winner, which would have required them to win out and Philadelphia to lose out, which is why when Philadelphia won on Saturday, they were officially eliminated. It is the second year in a row that they won't be in the playoffs. First time since 2019 and 2020, which was also the final year of one head coach and the first year of another, in a manner that was handled in incredibly toxic and, poor ways. So what a surprise that, doing that would yield these type of results. It is only the 8th time in Dallas Cowboys franchise history that they've had a starting quarterback throw for over 4,000 yards, now officially, because Dak crossed that line on Sunday, and 25 touchdowns. I'll obviously add to these numbers, which we can get to in a little bit, but only the 8th time. And of these 8 times, and look, 4,000 yards, 25 touchdowns are low numbers in today's NFL, but half of these seasons are Dak Prescott, half of them are Tony Romo. I don't think that that's shocking, and they have missed the playoffs as a team in half of them. And I mean, like, again, 4,000 yards, 25 touchdowns, not like, oh my gosh, you suck, but like that you're not even a playoff team in half of those years. And even then, they only have a playoff win in one of them. Although another one, they were the 1 seed, so they made the divisional round twice when their quarterback was that good. And I think that the national opinion finally is that Dak Prescott's not the problem with this team. I don't think, like, I'm not here to tell you he's perfect, he's amazing. Like, I'm not going to have that argument. But Dak was not the issue for the Cowboys this year. And so they were let down by poor leadership. I mean, I've made all these points a million different times, and the way they've handled contracts. I mean, these issues, I've argued this till I've been blue in the face. This all dates back, if you're talking about the genesis of this particular infection, because people say things like it's been the same thing for 30 years. I don't agree with that. But after 2022, when the Eagles lost the Super Bowl to the Chiefs, that offseason was when Dak Prescott was coming off all those interceptions. And that was when the Cowboys first were eligible to get a new extension done with him, and they did not. That was when CeeDee Lamb was first eligible to get a new extension. They did not. They dragged their feet. They drafted Tyler Smith in the first round to play left guard, and now they're thinking about playing him at left tackle, which is stupid and kind of conniving because they paid him top guard money. But that being said, they didn't do anything in 2022. They were a very good team. They did win a playoff game. I know that you love to take away from that and whatnot, and the Bucks and being below 500 and all that jazz.
It's a below 500 team.
And then in 2023, they waited the entire, I'm talking the calendar year of 2023. They waited obviously for forever. This was 2023, excuse me. And that season, they were awesome. They were amazing. We talked about the collapse around them that led to them obviously winning the division and taking the 2 seed. They had an embarrassing, horrible, abject failure of a playoff loss against the Packers. You will find nobody who will hate on it more than I will here. But afterwards, they did nothing. And in fact, not only did they do nothing, they did purely toxic things throughout 2024. They didn't make a decision on Mike McCarthy. And like I said then, they should have either fired him or extended him to get rid of and eliminate the lame duck status. Because if they had extended him and wanted to fire him at any point in the future, go ahead. It's just money. Like you could have fired him whenever you wanted in the future, but you created this lame duck nature around him. You obviously brought in Mike Zimmer to be his lame duck defensive coordinator. You dragged toxically, again, narcissistically, the Dak and the CD deals out way into the 11th hour. Dak Prescott got his deal the day the season began. Jerry was fighting with radio hosts, obviously, throughout all of last year. Then he got injured, and then they dragged the McCarthy thing out again into the second week of the playoffs. And then they waited a whole week before Brian Schottenheimer even came up on their radar. And then they built up some goodwill. And people like me, we took the cheese. They're veteran trades. They were smart in the draft. And I stand by giving them that goodwill over the offseason. But they burnt up all of it with the Micah thing out of pride. And then they just stirred the pot even more throughout the course of this season and brought in their friend and Matt Eberflus to be their defensive coordinator and undid his job by obviously trading away Micah. And then chaotically traded for Quinnen Williams, who's obviously a good player and whatnot, but just adds to the extreme nature of it all. And so, this is all the result of several decisions that were made out of pride or in the name of clout or the name of attention or the name of whatever. You and I have had this conversation in different respects about these two teams over the last few years now. It's not fun. Like, I want to be very clear here that a bad day doing what we do is still awesome. Like, yeah. I still have my dream job and whatnot. Like, I'm not asking for any kind of pity or whatnot, but it has felt so much more like work these last 2 years than it did throughout my entire career before that. It is not fun anymore. They are ruining this experience that so many people love. And I think it's understandable, even from their biggest rival.
Oh, I think that was poignant. And I don't have much more to add. Just kidding. I have a lot more to add. Number one, I will say that for as much as Dak Prescott was certainly not the reason the Cowboys were bad this season, at the bottom line, it's a bottom line business. It's 2 playoff wins in 10 seasons as a starting quarterback.
I saw you tweeting this out on Saturday night, which I didn't even know you were doing from a wedding. And now I feel
I was home by that point. Okay. But also I didn't watch the game yet, so I couldn't fire off takes about the game I didn't watch. And also I didn't want to just
So you went to your favorite subject,
add
the Dallas
into
Cowboys.
I was trying to be unique and differentiate myself from all the other coverage. So and that did some numbers. So hey, look at me. Mr. Social Media Clout guy over here. Yeah, I just think when you look at that and like, so yes, I agree. He's not the reason to blame this season, but the idea, I think there's been, at least from some of the responses I saw, and maybe, this could always just be a small portion of people. I don't know. Is that like, oh, he's just been totally saddled and, it's not his fault. It's like, well,
I disagree with that. You will never, I think he has been burdened. There's no doubt about that.
But more recently,
he's not purely a victim. I agree with that.
They were the 1 seed. They were the 2 seed. Like, this is not like, oh, he's on these
garbage teams. They were the 1 seed when he was a rookie. I mean, like contextualize it. I mean, they were the 1 seed and they blew it, and that's fair, but they were the 1 seed when he was a rookie. They were the 2 seed, and I just talked about how big of a failure that was. And including from him, he was horrible in that game. Mm-hmm. I mean, so like, I'm in no way saying like, poor Dak in the sense that he has 0% contributed to this. That is not my take whatsoever.
That's all I'm saying.
but I get annoyed, and therefore there is some like overcorrecting that happens because people talk about, well, he makes all this money. He's the highest paid player in the NFL. That's true. Yeah. It wouldn't be true if they had done things in a more efficient manner. Like there's no question that he is swimming up against a current in a way that not only Jalen Hurts isn't, but that a million other quarterbacks aren't. Like so many other teams or players play for teams that are amplifying their opportunities for success. That's all I'm saying. I'm not absolutely declaring that Dak Prescott would go and win the Super Bowl if he were the Rams quarterback next year, but I think he'd have a better shot. I would love to see it, kind of like you talked about wanting to see Tanner McKee from like a social studies standpoint. I would love to see it because it is more than Dak. And so I got away from this in my diatribe, but the official elimination, and also, by the way, I got all these like they were eliminated when they lost to the Cardinals. Okay, like that's fine that you felt that way, and I'm not even disagreeing with you, but they were officially eliminated, mathematically eliminated on Saturday. That was really annoying for me to put up with. But that being said,
what did you mean about the Cardinals thing?
Back earlier this season. Like when we created all the like officially eliminated stuff, all these people were like, what are you talking about? They were eliminated.
Whatever. I was going to ask you, what you felt like was the end of the season. That does seem to stick out as
that was probably like certainly in hindsight the moment where it was like, yeah, this is definitely not going to happen.
Like it's not your year at that point. You're like, this isn't.
Yeah, and again, I think you could make the argument for the Panthers or the Bears losses, and those don't look as bad because those teams obviously have had different seasons, but they were favored in both those games. Like you noted, they were favored against Minnesota, they were favored against Chicago. Granted, it was on the road. They were favored against Carolina. Granted, on the road. Favored at home against the Cardinals, and favored at home against the Vikings. You can argue that those were the 4 swing points of their game, but then you can argue that they stole the Eagles game and the Chiefs game when they were home dogs to them. So even if you wash them out with 2 of those 4 games I mentioned, that's still 2 more wins on the season for them at this point. So I think those 4 are kind of the main blocks that the failure was built upon. But on the subject of whatever, not it's a horrible segue. But so it hasn't officially reached the anniversary yet. But now that they are eliminated, their drought will officially grow to 30 years. And it's something like, again, we have said for a long time because we round up and approximate. You went 52 years, dude. So like, why don't you relax a little bit here? That being said, their drought is now going to officially reach 30 years. The anniversary will be obviously later next month. Which is just unbelievable. I mean, I bring this up a lot, but you remember the Factory of Sadness video with the Browns fan? Yeah. Like he has a line that I think about all the time. When he's like yelling, he says, "It is actually statistically harder to be this consistently bad than it would be to accidentally be good." And every team has at least been to the championship game since 2010. And I also,
that's crazy. Like that's what makes it crazy. Like when you look at it,
that's half of the span.
It's not even just the fact that they haven't been there that long. Because if other teams were in the same boat, then it's like that's not really that insane. And that was kind of the case with the Commanders until last year,
and the Lions before,
right? But the fact that it's become this far is like insane.
And like, I mean, that's why like it isn't. Oh, they've just been this way for 30 years. Like I wouldn't say it that way, but they have been this way for like 15 years since at least like 2010, which was kind of the Jason Garrett era beginning. And so I mean, I don't know. They're a failure, but they're like a smashing success in all the ways they care about, which is super depressing. This Christmas game, they're gonna. I'm not bragging. I'm not. But my job is to tell you and our audience what it is. And on Christmas, they're gonna play on Netflix. In case anybody forgot, so make sure your subscription is whatever. And it's gonna be like the most viewed game ever in streaming, right? Like you know that. Like I'm not bragging about it, and they are going to have.
I think you enjoy that.
I don't
more than you should.
No, I used to enjoy. I used to be proud of their Forbes ranking and things like that. Like I'm not. I don't hide from that. I was dumb, and I was and that was 15 years ago. That was halfway into what we know this drought to be now. Consider that at the time of their last point of all this, Super Bowl 30, which they won, and obviously won the NFC Championship game, they had appeared in 8 of the 30 Super Bowls. They had won 5. They had appeared in 16 of the 30 NFC Championship games, and they have added 0 to that total. I mean, it's just impossible to just be this way. Eagles Girl mentions real question, which didn't sound like you were asking. Says there's commonly talk about Super Bowl windows for quarterbacks. Does Jerry Jones not believe in Super Bowl windows, or does he really believe he's been maximizing the team for Dak to win a Super Bowl? So my point of annoyance is not with Eagles Girl, to be clear, or with you, Brandon. My point of annoyance is that there is no like Jerry clearly believes in anything.
I was just going to say, I don't think he believes in anything.
No, and like that was really annoying to me throughout last offseason, the 2024 offseason, because with the Dak and CD things, people were like, oh, they're clearly setting up an organic tank. They're clearly all in. Like, no, they don't clearly do anything.
I think he believes in making money.
Yeah, like, and so, and whatever fits and meets that agenda. And if the thing that fits and meets that agenda is different tomorrow than it is today, then it doesn't matter. Like relative to Windows or football roster construction processes, like that is the North Star. That is the thing that they care about. So we can sit here and we can try like we would with any other competent team and say like, okay, well, so the Eagles have drafted this way and they're doing this. Like they're clearly, you know, building around this contract window to be able to, you know, set themselves up because after that they'll pay these guys and that will be their window and that's how they'll work and adjust. That makes sense. I fully agree with you. And I respect you wanting to think of things that way. That's not how it works here. Here it's just, you know, well, there's a Formula One Grand Prix that's maybe going to, you know, be circling around AT&T Stadium and the World Cup qualifiers are going to be in the building as well. But other than that, oh yeah, we got 2 first-round picks next year. We'll see who we draft. Let us know what Daniel Jeremiah and Dane Brugler say.
What was the Cowboys over/under win total this year?
They could still reach. In fact, I think they will hit the over. It was 7.5. And
it was suspiciously low, as one person on this show called it.
Do you think they're going to lose to Washington and New York?
I mean, it did go up to 8.5 at some places. So
when we argued and bickered about it, it was 7.5.
But my point was like, I didn't think it was going to be way off that number.
My point was take the over, and mathematically they still could hit that over.
You were like, they're usually going to clear.
If you followed my betting advice, you still could make money. And if you followed
yours,
over under, you would be sweating it right now. Or do you think
9.5?
Do you think they're going to win these next 2 games?
I guess.
So then they're going to hit the over. So then
not the 8.5.
You yourself said like 20 minutes ago, it's a bottom line business. In a bottom line results business, I will have a win. Right.
Yeah, my point, the bigger point was that like I think it's going to be closer to that number than it is the number you're saying, which is like 11 wins, 12 wins.
It doesn't matter the number I said. I took the over on 7.5. I took the over. You took the under on 7.5.
It wasn't just
that's the objective number. That's the line, the point of demarcation that we drew. Yeah. Anyway.
The point was that Vegas knows sometimes, and this was a very clear case of Vegas.
Also,
say they're crazy.
It's going to be the most like I'm like the memes don't bother me anymore. Again, I just get annoyed at a lack of creativity. And so that being said, if they finish 8-1 for an even Steven 500. Oh, dude, it's
the best. That's literally the best record I could come up with for the Cowboys. It would not be 0-17 because I don't want them getting the number one pick.
To close, like the thoughts on this, it does feel like this is Dak Prescott's 2011 Tony Romo time, where he has become a verifiable, you know, franchise quarterback that should be having everything built around him while the franchise, you know, lives in turmoil. And obviously deals with a head coach that maybe is a bit in over his head, like Jason Garrett. Then, like my point is, Brian Schottenheimer is to Dak Prescott what Jason Garrett was to Tony Romo, and they had those 3 8-8 years starting in 2011, where they lost the NFC East title games to every team in the division, which is just amazing that really happened. But that being said, so to finish 8-1 would really like, you know, heighten that fear. Like, oh my gosh, and they're 6-8-1 right now. If you go win these last 2 games, it's going to piss me off so much because I know I made a point a little while ago about how 5 draft spots doesn't really matter, but it will be the principle. Like, what are they doing playing Dak on Christmas Day? They already announced that they are. Like, I know we're kind of spinning forward now. Like, that's so dumb. That is so unbelievably dumb. In a year where you're seeing all sorts of players get hurt and injured and whatnot on a field that has a horrible history, a second field at MetLife Stadium that they play him then. And look, my theory on this, and I don't think this is a shocker, is that if this game was a noon kickoff with the 4th CBS crew on Sunday, they would be sitting Dak Prescott. But because it's Christmas Day on Netflix and they're a new partner for the NFL, that's why Dak Prescott's going to play. And remember this next week, everyone, if they say that they're going to bench Dak and CD and whoever for the Week 18 game against the Giants, that will, tell me if you disagree, corroborate this idea.
No, I agree. I really wanted the Cowboys to beat the Chargers. I was annoyed that they didn't, especially because I want the Cowboys to lose these last 2 games because I want the Commanders and Giants to be ruining their draft position at this point, even more than the Cowboys because obviously it is way more higher stakes for those teams literally since the Giants are number 1 overall currently, and currently the Commanders are number 7 overall in the 2026 NFL draft order. My final thing on the Cowboys is that it's the hope that kills. And while I did not enjoy the Cowboys losing to the Eagles, I am glad the Cowboys, certainly in hindsight, had that little stretch there where they could talk themselves into it, because it's not necessarily fun when it's like last year and Dak gets out and the Cowboys are just clearly cooked, because then you're just like, you don't even care about the season. It can't hurt you at all. Like the Vikings game had to hurt you at least a little, and had to hurt Cowboys fans at least a little bit. So I like that. I'm glad that happened. I'm glad the Eagles could clinch the NFC East and wrap it up ultimately and lead to another season with no Cowboys success. So feel good about that. And also like had enough success too, where they can kind of talk themselves into some things, maybe in a false positive, delusional kind of way for next year, which I think you even have a touch of in terms of like, I'm excited for next year. Good. I want you to be excited for next year. I don't want you to be counting it out, because I want to be able to cut your hopes again.
I mean, I think that they are, from a variable standpoint, positioned to do some what other teams could do in an impressive way. Like a standard, like arbitrary NFL team could have a good offseason with the situation that the Cowboys are in. That's my point.
I'm sure they will.
But I in no way trust them. You have to apply that tax here. You have to understand that you're not dealing with an NFL team here. Like that's like I've understood this for a lot longer than you, because you still don't seem to understand that. Like they are not trying in the same way that the Eagles are trying.
I know
so I mean, will I be excited about whoever they draft in the first round, the 2 players, if they don't trade back or whatever? Like, yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. But I asked this question in our post-game show, and I have a clip that I'm gonna share on social later this week. But like what is the one thing? I'm not asking you obviously, but like the one thing that they could do that would rope you back in? Like nothing. I mean, like, and look, I don't say
that's not true. You will always get roped back in.
Well, I will always get roped back in because I want them to win. Like,
of course. I'm not even faulting you for that. I'm just saying I love it.
But there's not a way I would get roped back into where I would trust them. There's a difference between being roped back in want and impractical belief and trust. They have no benefit of the doubt. So there's not like they're gonna fire Matt Eberflus in like 2 weeks in all likelihood, and they're gonna act like see our old buddy that we brought back, he sucked. By the way, like I also said this, that they have long said like, well, he's a friend of and he's a friend of the family. Like imagine being that friend who like is getting like hung out to dry by them and used for attention and memedom. Like it's a really horrible thing to do to a person. That being said, I want to believe in them. I want to so badly, which is why I will take the inches that they give and try to extract a mile from them. But there's no objective reason to trust their front office. I want to give Brian Schottenheimer a benefit of the doubt. I want to give it to Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb and the players and the people who aren't as infected as the front office is. But it's so difficult when you remember and realize always that they're the ones who control everything.
Well, I'm glad they're eliminated by Christmas. Merry Christmas, Cowboys fans.
Second year in a row that they were eliminated by Christmas. Not just missing the playoffs, but eliminated before Christmas both years, which again adds to the embarrassment, is my point in bringing up.
I do want to talk about the Commanders and Giants, because I do have some things to say, probably actually more about the Giants than the Commanders. But I will say, and you already touched on it, the loser Commanders, Dan Quinn, who's like punting it on like 4th and 6, like these obvious go for it situations late in the game. And to his credit, was actually very good about being aggressive a lot of the time last year. And it was actually, Commanders had like historic success on 4th down, although turtled up in a huge spot early on in the NFC Championship game, which probably set a bad tone for his team and the rest of that performance, where they got blown out in Philadelphia. But it's just very funny to me, like how tough they're talking at this point. Like this is when you're choosing the show fight here, when you've already been, your season's long gone and you've shut down on your own your starting quarterback and your players are getting like, what is this? This is such loser behavior to act all like tough guy as you're getting blown out in the game. Not blown out, but like well beat in this game as well, and act like you're all tough and mighty. I do think it's weird that Nick Sirianni went for 2 there. I don't really know that I buy he was just going by quote unquote the chart of what tells him what to do, in part because I don't think he follows that enough, and I wish he followed that more. I do think this is an example of what I often critique him about, in being haphazard and like, we're aggressive here, but we're not here. But it never is really no rhyme or reason. It's kind of just like, emotional decision based on random anecdotes he'll pull out after the fact and tell you about he was thinking about this thing that happened at this one point in time, as opposed to all this data that tells you what you should or shouldn't do. So I don't know what went into that decision, honestly, but I think it's very loser behavior of the Commanders to be like, oh, we're all tough and we're gonna see him in 2 weeks again when the starters might be resting and we're playing backups. Like, very loser behavior from Dan Quinn to me.
I want to be clear that I agree that it's loser behavior. Like, especially being the most losery thing to me is we'll see him again in 2 weeks or whatever. Like, that's so dumb. But the grace I will give is it's very difficult to do anything cool when you are eliminated like this. You're just going through the motions. I tweeted this last week when the Cowboys announced that Matt Eberflus was going to the booth from the sideline. And
I disagree. I think you can be cool by trying to fight hard in the game.
Okay, maybe, but I didn't say it was impossible. I said it was very difficult. So like it's difficult to like
pull off the upset. That would be
no, but it's difficult to like to go in there and give like a rah-rah speech. That's all I'm saying. Like it's hard.
But again, I'm not disagreeing on these fourth downs.
I'm not disagreeing with you. Again, I'm saying it's a tough spot, but he has to navigate it. That's all I'm saying. Is it's an awkward thing, especially when you're up against a team that has owned you, right? Like it's just a difficult thing to manage. He obviously did a very poor job of it, and I think he did a poor job of it in retrospect. And I think I do think that's like, that's really like coming up with the rebuttal when you're in the shower, like at home, like, oh, I would have told him this, like, oh, we'll tell him, 2 weeks, from now, like, okay, Dan, what, like, seriously.
Well, apparently he was like watching I saw the Athletic report on this, how he was like watching the post-game interaction, like from like, he was on the field and kind of like monitoring everything, make sure there wasn't gonna be a fight. Like, who is this guy?
No,
Mr. Tough Guy?
There's nothing about it that isn't lame. So I don't know where Washington goes. I mean, their offseason is going to be fascinating. I did want to address this point, by the way. It's a Cowboys point, but Matthew says the Cowboys and Niners haven't been good since the salary cap started affecting teams. Jerry can't just buy championships. The only reason I want to say that is Jerry wouldn't buy a championship. Like, I hate the Dodgers. Let me be very clear about this.
Yeah,
but I respect the hell out of how they're like, well, we have this weapon that we can use.
Yeah, it's not their fault.
No, I agree with that. Like, I respect the hell out of their like.
They shouldn't self-contain themselves.
Like, you mean we can use our immense wealth to win? Like, what a cool thing! I wish my team would do that. You know what I mean? So like, even if there were no salary cap, the Cowboys wouldn't do it. That's the only part I wanted to shoehorn in here. And I think that this is a really big, like, sobering sort of sequence for the Commanders. I stand by the fact that they had all the reason in the world to believe in themselves and have fun last year.
They didn't.
You guys had this weird insecurity, like how dare they? How dare they like have fun? How dare they enjoy, themselves, whatever. But
that's not what I said.
They have some hard decisions to make in the offseason. And
they have less draft capital now than they would have if they kind of had probably a more sober look at last year than a very delusional look that they had. So it's gonna be a tough one for them. Gonna be interesting to see what they do.
Can we get to the Giants? Because I saw I don't know where I saw it. It might have been a Reddit comment or a tweet or something. So I apologize, whoever. I'm not trying to steal this, but it was a joke that maybe the Giants should have actually hired Brian Flores when they sent the wrong text. When was it Bill Belichick who texted Brian Flores and said congrats on
exactly what
I think that was the situation. He texted Brian Flores and said congrats on getting the job, and he was like, what are you talking about? And it was Brian Daboll who got the job. I don't know that I don't know that Brian Flores would have worked out, but Brian Flores is a hot name right now because obviously the Vikings defense and whatnot. It's funny they played one another, but okay, the Giants existed. I have nothing to add to like what we saw on Sunday.
So they're the number one overall pick right now, as it stands.
They have a bowl coming up. The number one
huge game this week, a must-lose game for them, honestly. In terms of what I think. So here's what I would do if I were the New York Giants.
Explain the circumstances, please.
Yeah. So the New York Giants currently picking number one overall in the 2026
I'm sorry,
NFL draft.
really quickly, Brandon. Adam Schefter just tweeted there will be no suspensions from Saturday's altercations between the Eagles.
I'm sure.
Well, I'm just letting you know that
I appreciate it.
So
I appreciate it.
But go ahead.
I kind of respect Tyler Steen for like kind of taking on the entire Commanders team. I thought that was very funny. It's just like going into a pile of like 11 other players. Anyway, Giants are number one in the 2026 NFL draft order as it stands. They actually have the same record, 12-3 as the Las Vegas Raiders, but because of the strength
3
of
and 12, 3 and 12. You said 12-3.
Sorry, 2-13.
Or yeah,
is what I meant to say. Yeah, I'm not good at reading sometimes. 2-13. The strength of schedule tiebreaker, which is very close. You can look at that at tankathon.com/NFL for more context here. But basically, the Giants want to lose this game against the Raiders because I think the way, in part, to getting the Giants back on track, which doesn't interest you or I in terms of what we're rooting for, but in terms of talking about it from an analytical standpoint, and what I think is best for the Giants is they get the number 1 overall pick, and they do not trade the pick. I think it's gone a little too far with just how sure Giants fans and the New York Giants are about Jackson Dart. Look, let me be clear. And I like Jackson Dart. I think I am optimistic about his future in terms of I believe he has upside, but I think the concern is very real as well in terms of I don't know if that guy is going to stay healthy. He plays especially recklessly, and I don't feel great about that. It's obviously coming off a bad game this week. I'm not basing this just on this bad game. But like my point here is that what has he done this season that is like so convincing that you can't possibly move off of it? Like you can't even consider it. Because that's basically the energy I'm seeing from Giants fans. And by the way, those are probably the same Giants fans that felt the same way about Daniel Jones at a point in time. So like this idea that like, oh, the Giants got this guy and he's young, so he must be definitively the answer. And we can't consider. And again, let me also put the disclaimer out there. I don't watch college football to the degree where I know that Mendoza is going to be like this amazing player. But my point is, if he is potentially better, if you could project him to be better than Jackson Dart, you have to consider that. Like you can't just be like, no, we already have a quarterback. It's not even a question for us. If I'm the Giants, I trade Jackson Dart because I think you could get a good haul for him. I take a quarterback at number 1 overall. I fire Joe Shane, get him out of there because he shouldn't be there anymore either. Because this is something that Giants fans have talked about too, and we've talked about here in the NFC Mixtape. One of the issues in terms of why the Giants have been so bad for so long, they have not synced up quarterback, GM, head coach in so long. It's always a different guy picking someone, and then it's never fitting together in the right way. This is your chance if you get the number 1 overall pick. Wipe the slate clean, just start over, get everyone in sync. And if you fail that way, at least you can go down being like, hey, I think like that was a really good way to go about it. But I just think it's a big mistake for them to – it could work out in terms of you could get the number 1 pick and trade it for a big haul, and maybe that haul springboards you into success. Again, I'm not down on Jackson Dart. I'm just saying I don't think I definitely commit to him. I don't feel that convicted in him to know he is definitely the guy. And I might want to get that quarterback at number 1 overall instead. So that's my plan for fixing the Giants. And I think a lot of Giants fans are not even going to entertain that. And I think they're wrong for that.
I agree with just about everything. I don't know what you could get for Jackson Dart at this point, but like, if
probably
you're
good.
No, but like, let's just be conservative and call it a 3rd round pick. Like, let's just be be conservative. Would I rather?
I think even from the standpoint of
again,
the rookie contract,
let's be conservative and call it a 3rd. Even if it were that,
I think it's a 2nd at least.
Fine. If it's a 2nd, I would much rather have Fernando Mendoza and a 2nd round pick than Jackson Dart and whatever else. And like, I just
and a new head coach who might not like Jackson Dart.
And again, I don't have the biggest grip on Fernando Mendoza quite yet, right? Like we're whatever, but like it's just that's the reality of who Jackson Dart has been. Like, and I think he can. I think that there's still potential there, but he's also invited a lot of doubt. I mean, just with his play style, and that's just the reality of the situation. So,
and the Giants are so bad. It's not just all his fault, but like I'm just saying, what has he done? What has he accomplished that he just earns this? With like no questions asked.
So 2 things here. One, it is a must-lose game. I think about all the time about that game the Jets won when they beat the Rams and costed themselves Trevor Lawrence. Like that just has to eat at you if you're a Jets fan, obviously. But 2, Joe Shane should be gone, to be very clear, no matter what. And I think we think he will be, but especially if you have the number 1 overall pick. Like even if you win this game and it's the number 2 overall pick, whatever, but like it's not just that you're starting a rookie quarterback, window potentially or whatever, but like, and that would be for me like an even larger point of merit to drafting a new quarterback, new GM, new head coach, new quarterback who's number 1 overall. Like you get a full total reset on all this stuff. I did want to forget. I kept this open on my phone. This is only tangentially related to the Giants. So I saw this and I knew it had to be fake, but it actually I thought it was real for a split second. It's fake, but it said the Giants are now 11-317 since the infamous boat picture. But they've been so bad that for a second I believed it. You know what I'm saying? And then somebody said, somebody responded, how many losses do you think they have actually had? That was the 2016 season. So it's been almost a decade.
How many seasons has there been? 10
9.
seasons.
This is the 10th.
They probably averaged at least 10. So what, 100 losses?
In that time, they are 42, 104, and 1.
I was pretty good. That was pretty good math at me. I was off by 4.
It was. Off by 4 for now. They're hoping you're off by 5.
Right. I was including until today.
Okay. Are we ready to spin forward?
Yeah, let's spin it forward to this week's games.
Christmas is gross, dude.
There's a game tonight. Do you think the 49ers, they're 4.5 point favorites against the Colts?
I think they win, and I would take the Niners to beat the Eagles in the playoffs today.
Well, of course you would.
Well, and I would take the points because I'd probably be getting some, to be very clear. But.
So then, therefore, you believe the Eagles will not be alive for the 1 seed. So, okay, we're just going to put that in.
The Niners, by the way, are at this moment in time 4.5 point favorites in Indianapolis.
Yeah, I agree. But I'm saying that officially eliminates them from 1. So we'll see from there. That brings us to Christmas Day.
Cowboys are 6.5 point favorites at Washington at 1 p.m. Eastern on Christmas Day because the NFL wants to make sure you stay on Netflix.
Why does it list it on FanDuel at 101 Eastern?
I'm assuming. I think that's there must be a broadcast thing. Certain teams, Netflix is, can't technically be listed at 1 p.m. Eastern. That would be my guess. But
anyway, nothing to do with
that's the case for the weekend games, by the way. If you look, the afternoon game on Christmas is 4:31 Eastern. The evening game is 8:16 p.m. Eastern. I think
not that we need to give the NFL credit, but the one thing I will give the NFL credit for is starting the games on time. I love that. I love how they do that. They start the game literally exactly when the game is going to be, as opposed to you see these basketball broadcasts or it's turn it on at the game starts at 7:30. It's no.
Well, they're I'm not defending them, but they're trying to get the most out of it. If basketball game A is wrapping up,
I hate it.
I mean, well, you're still getting to absorb the same content. It's just
but you're showing me the pregame show. I don't want to see the pregame show in terms of just tell me when the game starts. Anyway, as I'm dilly-dallying here, I will take the Cowboys -6.5. Looks like it might be Josh Johnson.
I think they will win and look awesome, and then they will act like they did something, and it will piss a bunch of people off. So,
I want the Cowboys to lose. I want the Commanders to win because I want the Commanders to ruin their draft position right now more than I want the Cowboys to ruin their draft
because they're higher in draft order.
Right, but I still think they're gonna win.
The Giants are up next chronologically. Yes.
This is the must-lose game for the Giants.
So it's in Vegas for what it's worth. And the Giants are 1.5 point dogs.
The Raiders are so bad that they aren't even full favorites at home against the Giants.
Yep.
That is terrible. Raiders showed some life last week. Now they did get Geno back, as opposed to they were playing Kenny Pickett in Philly. And also
Ashton Genty went off.
Well, I think when you lose a game as badly as as the Raiders did in Philly, a lot of teams probably aren't going to lose that badly the week after. There is some kind of pride and hey, we can't play that poorly. That's just kind of pretty pathetic.
I think the Raiders are going to lose. I think they're going to win the number 1 overall pick. I really believe that. I think the Giants are going to convince themselves that it was worth it to win. And
I hope you're right.
I do too. I'm taking the Giants to win.
I'm gonna take the Raider. Oh man, I hate it. This is terrible because I think but the Giants are also just very terribly lifeless.
No, and couldn't you see Jackson Dart having a big touchdown and then them flexing and then all their fans being no,
as I'm talking about it more, the Raiders' offensive line is that's their especially bad weakness. It's totally terrible. And for all the things bad about the Giants, they do Brian Burns is playing, right? He's not an IR or anything. They do have some players on the defensive line who, at least, yes, he is playing. And he just had 2 sacks against the Vikings here. Yeah, so I'm going to say, actually, I'm going to change my pick, and I'm going to take the Giants plus 1.5 here.
Excellent. Okay, so
which
we're
would
in
be great.
lockstep. Finally, speaking of eating into home field advantage, the Eagles have done that. The Bills are only 2.5-point home favorites against the Eagles. So I don't know the full extent of the Josh Allen. What was it? Leg tweak was how it was phrased. Man,
doesn't seem to be anything major.
Okay. By the way, there are only 2 games on in the
afternoon. Can I add to
window.
the Giants, by the way, that if they do win this game, they could fall down to like 4.
Hilarious.
4. So that's a big difference. Like, it's not just like you're going down one spot. You're going down multiple.
I'm not
spots.
overlooking your point, but like, are you aware of this? There are 2 afternoon games on Sunday.
Like just 2?
These 2 that we're talking about. The Giants are in Vegas and the Eagles are in Buffalo. Those are the only 2 afternoon games on Sunday.
Yeah, and one starts at 4:05 and the other starts at 4:25.
Well, they want that because they want people to tune into the second one to boost CBS's ratings or whatever at the end. Or maybe that's a Fox game. We'll see. But either way, wow. I'm going to take the Bills.
I mean, you've consistently picked against the Eagles all season, and not even a terrible strategy. But I don't know. I think the Eagles are not like figuring things out in a way that they're totally turning it around. But I do think, again, they've stabilized a bit. The Bills have had some weird games this year where they got like kind of beat up by the Panthers and the Falcons. Eagles don't play in the NFC South, but
they won that Panthers game though. They did lose to the South.
Okay, it's just like I don't fully. The Bills' defense is suspect. Josh Allen's obviously great. Maybe there's something to the fact that the Bills lost to the Eagles in 2023 in overtime, and they want to get their get back.
Imagine not beating them in the Kelly Greens. I can't.
I know. So I'll take the Eagles here plus 2.5. Why not? I think they're coming off a little bit of extra rest, having played on Saturday too. Maybe Josh Allen's a little bit banged up. I don't trust the Bills entirely. I think it's gonna be a close game. So even if the Eagles don't win, I do think they cover. I'll take the points here. It's rare that I get to take the Eagles and the points, so I'll do it here.
Okay. Are you ready for songs?
I am. I'm gonna go first because I have a Christmas related pick here as we are doing our last mixtape before December 25th. There is a song called Christmas / Sarajevo.
Oh, 12. Nice.
Yeah, it's by the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. It's an awesome
12/14, like the Christmas Eve version, you're saying.
12/24.
Yeah. That's Christmas Eve.
Instrumental. It's like literally, if you go to Trans-Siberian Orchestra on Apple Music, it's literally like the top song that you can see there. And I mean, just an awesome song. I'm not picking it because of the scene in The Office, because I already knew about it before that scene, but I just was reminded of that scene in The Office where Dwight puts that on, and it's just a funny scene, and that kind of adds to it for me. And it's an awesome song.
I don't have a favorite streaming service, and I don't think they do this anymore anyway, but at one point Peacock had I guess the board would be like a playlist of just the Office Christmas episodes. That's awesome. Like that's a really smart thing to do for your users, so I can just go play that and not have to search through each season for them. Sure. So well done. My pick is a shout out to Steven Serta. I kind of associate this movie with Christmas. It's not a Christmas movie, but the movie Tick, Tick, Boom. So I added a song from Rent recently. Tick, Tick, Boom is the story of Jonathan Larson, who wrote Rent and tragically passed away before it premiered. So this is a musical that is about his life in the lead up to writing Rent. But it was a Netflix only movie, and my wife and I watched it at Christmas time. So I kind of like our lights were off and only the tree was lit. Like I've just kind of got that memory associated with it. It is Eagles Girl says I don't know any other Trans-Siberian Orchestra songs. Yeah, that makes sense. Anyway, so it's from Tick Tick Boom. It's the first song on the soundtrack. No, the Hives have a song called Tick Tick Boom. Tick Tick Boom is the name of the movie, not of the song. The song is called 3090. It's about, at the time, Jonathan Larson turning 30 years old, being a seminal moment in his life. Pretty impressive. Andrew Garfield stars as Jonathan Larson in this movie. Should have won an Oscar for it. Steven and I made that campaign. Yeah, so 3090 from Tick Tick Boom.
All right. That's one of our last additions. I guess we have one more of 2025, right? Because I imagine we'll do our next episode before the new year. Probably.
Unless football has stopped existing. I mean, and at that, I'd be
Hmm.
fine with that. So
Well, we have 29th Monday, 30th, and then 31st next week to do it. If we do it before the new year, which we probably will. Although, what's there even to talk about at this point besides the Eagles? Honestly,
Michael Wright says just turned 30 last month and ranging in with 30-90 at midnight. Great choice, RJ. Look at that.
like, what are we going to talk about? Because usually, I mean, it's been a while since, right? I'm trying to think of, because like last year we didn't do it, obviously. Which, man, what a like really a true gift to you that you didn't have to do the mixtape last year. Also, I was considering at one point in the season, like maybe I just can't do the mixtape anymore from the standpoint of the Eagles just do not play at their best somehow when the mixtape is on, or at least they had their best season of all time when it was not on. Although we did do it a couple weeks last year, and then we did the episode after the season, so kind of technically existed. Anyway, we'll cross that bridge when we get there, I guess. What are you doing for Christmas?
So Cowboys play.
But like besides that,
Watching my son open gifts, that will be fun. And thankfully
Also,
the Cowboys play at noon. So
tell us your holiday plans in the chat if you're watching this live or back on the replay.
I'm very excited. I'll close out with this. When my son sat down with Santa, said, Santa said, "What do you want?" My son looked at me, he's like, "What do I want?" And I was like, "Tell him you want a telescope." And so he was like, "I want a telescope." And then he said, "So I can look at the stars." So he's got a telescope that he's going to open on Christmas. I'm pretty excited about it.
Wow, that's exciting. Hopefully he doesn't watch this show and get spoiled.
Well, watch it on his own or through the telescope, because that would be weird, like to watch us like.
True.
We also got him
could do that.
A monocular, like pirates use. You're talking about yeah. So we got him that too.
That's cool. I definitely had one of those. I think I even had like a pirate logo as a kid. That was fun.
As we leave, Brandon, why don't you tell us your favorite? Actually, not even a prediction, a guarantee. Something you will eat on Christmas Day.
Well, shout out to Eagles Girl 52 in the chat who says she's planning on going to the Ringers Philly Special Meetup. Awesome. Can't wait to meet Eagles Girl there. We'll come back and talk about that on the show.
Take a picture and post it on your Instagram story and tag me.
We really should. Eagles Girl, let's make that happen. I'm probably going to forget, so that's really on you to make that happen. What was the question? I totally got distracted.
Something you guarantee you will eat on Christmas Day specifically.
Yeah, so for this week, going with Rachel to her parents for a couple days at the beach, where her parents live. So looking forward to that. Christmas at the beach for it's cold for those who don't.
So you did Thanksgiving at the beach. Now you're doing Christmas at the beach.
No, we did not do Thanksgiving at the beach. We did Thanksgiving at Rachel's place.
I could have sworn you said the beach then. Maybe you've been talking Christmas at the beach.
We did do my birthday.
Halloween. I know you did.
We did Halloween, which doubled as a birthday celebration for me at the beach, which is fun. Yeah. So we did Halloween at the beach. Now we're doing Christmas at the beach. So I'm looking forward to that. Although it's technically just a couple days before, then visiting my parents on Christmas Day, which is also my mom's birthday. Shout out to my mom. Happy early birthday to my mom and my aunt Holly, who is her twin. Both of my parents are twins. Fun fact. Not with each other, obviously, but separately. I always feel the need to clarify that. What am I going to eat on Christmas Day itself?
Yes, something you guarantee you'll eat.
My mom got frozen pizzas from a local pizza place for us to eat, so I'm definitely going to have that.
Shout out to twins. Oh, well, last thing is Survivor.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Survivor. Well, again, I'm going to give people a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 spoiler warning. If you want to get out of here, you didn't watch the final finale results of Survivor 49. Get the heck out of here because we're talking about it now. Congrats to you on being right with your winner pick. I think she did not win the season as much as other people truly lost the season. I'm not trying to take credit away. I think like she won this. She's great in challenges. She obviously got the votes. Like it counts. I'm just saying like I don't think she did anything where I was like, oh my gosh, wow. Again, other than the challenges, which that's part of it. I also like to see more than that. I really think other people blew it very badly, which kind of might be like how this NFL season goes, honestly, in terms of like not one team dominating as much as the other teams are kind of just blowing it. I think she is the least likable winner in a long time. I do feel that way. How do you feel?
I think so. I somewhat knew her back in my radio days. She would come and do local hits, and again, like, hand to God, honest truth, we would talk during breaks, and she, like, I don't know what season was on, then she'd be like, "It's my dream to be on the show." So, like, it is very cool to have
great
seen
for her,
like that she like did it.
I'm not trying to be a hater. I'm just trying to be real about how I feel.
I think there are certain winners that aren't for everybody. I think she was very straight to the point, very blunt about her process, which I respect. Like, I think it comes down to, like, the type of survivor you like. And I like this is why I'm here. I'm just straight line. I want to win, whatnot. There is a different type of game that's more social management, whatever, that she clearly didn't play. But I respect that she felt like she didn't need to. She had a strategy and she executed it well. My question to you is, what did you think of the jury question that she got? That was I've seen a lot of discourse
Christina's jury question about like name. I thought that was a good question. I thought that was a really interesting, and I wasn't even necessarily the biggest Christina fan, so it wasn't like I'm going into that, like, oh, Christina did it, so it must be great. I originally also thought it was kind of like a gimmicky lame question, but then as the more I thought about it and how it played out, I was like, oh wow, that kind of does illustrate the point she was trying to get at, which is fine. And that's, like, she's allowed to feel that way, and she didn't want to vote for her, so that's fine. It doesn't mean she didn't deserve to win the game from other people, but I do think that was a factor in. And again, I don't even disagree with what you're saying. Like, I don't dislike her because she was blunt or things, and I don't want to get into like a trap here where, like, oh, she's like a woman who might, not have some qualities that other women might have. Like, I'm not getting, that's not what bothers me. The thing that bothers me the most is just like some of the like the idea of like, well, I deserve this. Like, or when things did go poorly for her, it was like, well, this is an objective travesty. How could this possibly happen? Like, it's not like, oh, I'm struggling right now. It's more of like, just like, I just think sometimes she acted like a little bit above others, or like too good for people sometimes. And I just don't respect that personally. So it didn't jive with me. I'm sure there's other people who like her and great for them.
The jury question, and I think this is applicable to, we've discovered in our long-running NFC East Mixtape life, multiple things could be true about a lot of different things. And so with regards to the question, I think this applies to the season and the winner as a whole potentially. I thought the question was silly, but I also think that you should be allowed to ask whatever question you want. And I also think that as a juror, you should make the determining vote, your determining vote based on whatever you want to. Like that's so if that's if I think it's dumb, like, whatever. I also think it was I don't want to call it petty, but it came from a petty sort of place, it seemed, like in a way to make her look bad. I think she landed the plane as best as she could, but even if it was intended to make her look bad, I kind of like it. I mean, even though I didn't like the question, I kind of like bringing that element back to Survivor. Like, so that was kind of just a cool thing. And I'm, whatever. I thought the worst question was Jawan's "Tell me your why." Like, and I'm glad that everyone was like, it shouldn't matter. Like, my opinion, and everyone can have a different one, is that your why should not matter when you're playing Survivor.
I think Savannah did a great job with that answer, to be clear.
I agree. I agree with
she owned her game, and I have respect for the win. I just don't find her personally, and this is rare, because I think that I was trying to think that I watched the Survivor finales typically with my friend James Seltzer and his wife Emily and their daughter, and I was thinking about it after the show with James, and I'm like, I can't remember the last time there was a Survivor winner who was like, I kind of like am bummed about that. Like, I don't really. There's ones who I've been
I can answer it for you. It's Chris Underwood.
Well, that's fine, but I didn't hate that as much as you did, and other people did. And
I only hated it though because of the process, not because of him individually, right?
Well, yeah, you didn't like the gimmick of it all, and that's fine. But that's different. I'm talking about like the actual. I didn't feel good about that person winning, and that hasn't happened in a while. And that's not to say I've loved every winner, but there's been ones where it's just like, okay, whatever. Like, I just don't even care. I'm kind of like apathetic towards it. This one, I was actively rooting against her, and I actually appreciate that from a TV standpoint. Like, give me someone to root against. Like, I like that. Like, that's fun. Like, I like rooting against the Cowboys. Like, it's fun to root against people. So I'm not saying she's bad TV and shouldn't be on the show. Clearly not. Like, I think, and spoiler alert again, gonna be on season 50. I'm fine to see her again, and I like rooting against her, but I personally I didn't enjoy the win for me. So that was my experience.
This corroborates that we need to get either Rick Devens back on the show.
No, it might be too big time. What if he wins S50?
Well, that would be the first time a Survivor winner has been on the show. We've had two contestants, but not a winner. So either Rick Devens, and we can work on this, or Dalton Ross, who's been on Blog and the Boys, who covers Survivor for entertainment. But they together used to co-host the Surviving Snyder podcast, but they stopped it when Dan Snyder sold the team because Well,
now
survived.
all is well and good with John Ross.
So that's what I'm saying. We should get Dalton Ross in here, talk about the Commanders. Maybe this is more of an offseason.
He'd probably be up for it.
Yeah, I think we do it as we get closer to Survivor 50. We could talk Survivor, we can talk Commanders, we can talk Rick Devens, whatever. But yeah,
I can't wait to watch Traders, by the way, with Rob coming up soon. Rob,
have you watched the first seasons? I don't remember.
I've never seen any of them, so I kind of want to just go into this one, not knowing what to expect. But seeing our guy Rob,
if you have time, but I will. The first season was awesome. Well, yeah, because your football team's good. But the first season was awesome. The second season, it's okay. The third season is, it's worth your time. That's what I'm saying. Like it's worth investing in, even if it's after you watch this upcoming season. So,
all right, man, sounds good.
All right, say the word Traders, and we'll go.
The Dallas Cowboys are traitors. No.